All right, everybody, welcome back to the Rutgers Rant. Politi here, Fonseca Lanny. We are all here. This is the biggest show of 2025 so far. We've got a season preview. We've got Ohio preview. We've got our first Kelly Zinn interview in the books. We were swooning at the Rodkin Center this morning talking to Kelly Zinn. We got picks. We got questions. We got so much stuff to cover, but we got to start with some personal news, fellas. I know you know this. It's still very exciting. We are proud that the Heldrich Hotel will sponsor our humble podcast for another season. Congratulations, guys. We had an entire year to scare off a real sponsor and failed to do so. I think it's a pretty good accomplishment, right?
It was not for a lack of trying.
We tried. We really did. Yes.
It's amazing. How many come stay the night one-liners could we squeeze into this season?
Especially since
Hey Iowa fans.
Exactly. Yes. Especially since one of us has stayed in poor hotels unapologetically. And yet we still have the number one hotel in New Brunswick. And I think it's only fair to have a relationship with the number one podcast in college sports, right? Number one hotel, number one podcast. Another year. Thank you, Devco. Thank you, Chris Palladino. We will try not to embarrass you this year. All right. You guys ready to talk some football? I mean, I was down there today, down there around the team. You know, I don't want to say football snuck up on me because I was in Italy the last 2 weeks. Maybe that's why. But it feels like football kind of snuck up on us. Quiet camp. Not a lot of buzz around this team. Not a lot of controversy. Not a lot of big news. Maybe that's good. I think it's probably good that we're not talking about, positional battles and things like that. We're just, they're just going about their business like good programs do. Am I right to think that the quietness is a good thing?
Yes, because the loudness would be like a devastating season-ending injury. Mm-hmm. They've had some season-ending injuries, but not, quarterback or wide receiver or anything to that effect. So it's good in that way. I think the narrative's there's no real major narrative because they have a quarterback set. For the first time in a long time, they have a returning starting quarterback. The schedule is about as down the middle as it could possibly be in the sense that you have 3 winnable non-conference games, 3 almost impossible to win Big Ten games, and then 6 games right down the middle. And then I think that's the mystery that's making this kind of a hard season to talk about because they could win 4 of those toss-up games. They'll probably win at least 2, and then what's the middle ground here? What are they going to end up doing? I think the mystery is kind of fun. Right? Yeah. Because I think they're going to make a bowl game. And if you ask me, I think a bowl game should be the minimum expectation. But if we're talking in December and they're 5-7, I don't think any of us will be surprised per se. Right?
Right. Yeah. I will push back on this though, Pat. And it's funny. Tell me if you agree with it. I will push back on this. The narrative of having 6 toss-up games to me, I don't know. I think as tough the top of the schedule is, I also think the bottom of the schedule, Maryland and Purdue can't be toss-up games. They've got to as close to winnable must-win games you can have in the Big Ten at this point. Absolutely,
you're right to push back, and I'll just say you were probably thinking about the quiet Rutgers offseason while you were in the pristine Sistine Chapel, of course. But anyway, I think the point that you're trying to make about Maryland and Purdue being must-wins is absolutely right. But I think Brian is also right in the sense that Rutgers was right there with them last year. Mm-hmm. And currently Illinois is a team that's projected to finish in the top 5 in the conference. Right. So you look at it as maybe Illinois has all these guys back. They've separated themselves a little bit, but I agree with Brian in that aspect that Illinois is not as invincible as some people may think. Iowa is a great program, but not as invincible as some people think. So I don't want to say there were 6 toss-up games. I think that's the wrong way to say it, but I understand the logic that they can go either way. And that's kind of what we saw last year. So I understand that that's right. We had them all in this junction of the season last year, Rutgers breaking the 10-win mark for myself. I won't let myself forget that.
Mistakes were made.
So I think what ultimately happened were those swing games and how things broke were crazy. We would have never thought that UCLA was going to be a game that got blown out in last year. So you can never really say for sure.
Yeah. And I guess that's sort of the fun of college football is that you really don't know. And I think in this era of college football, you even less know, if that makes any sense. I mean, so much player movement, so much uncertainty. And I think that's what, at least the vibe I got was that there is still a tremendous amount of uncertainty. The word I would use, if I would describe this team in one word, it would be uncertainty, especially on defense. Like, I really think that they are optimistic about what the defense will look like, but not sure what it's going to look like on Thursday, if that makes sense, right? Like the what we see from this Rutgers defense in the opener first couple weeks is not going to be where they hope to land with this thing.
Yeah, and I think the issue there too is that a lot of this defense will depend on how good the pass rush is with those two guys they got out of the portal from the group of five. It might be, they could be prolific in the non-conference against teams that are at the level that they played last year for the most part. Can they bring that to the Big Ten is the big question. I think that's the position that will really determine the ceiling for the season. And then the floor, I think, will be determined by one of the linebackers, but that's kind of a position that familiar faces are there. The uncertainty is with the secondary, which you have pretty much four guys that are transferring in as starters or at least contributors, depending on whether Bo Masco wins the job or Al-Shadi Salam wins the job at cornerback. But the point being, you're going to have a lot of new faces there. You're going to have a whole new coaching staff there. And I know that's Greg Schiano's area of expertise, but can they piece that all together? Oh, by the way, maybe the best player in the secondary, we don't know if he'll be, we think he'll be eligible beyond the 15th of September after his oral arguments for his case with the NCAA. But there's no real knowing if Jet Eli will be available in October, November until the courts figure it out, right? It's possible that the clock just runs out and he plays the whole season and whoop-de-doo, it doesn't matter. And it's possible that something happens in October. So that will hang over the season the whole time too. So just a lot I think uncertainty is a great word to describe the defense.
I'll add to that, right, as well. Everyone speaks so glowingly about this offense, and even Schiano did today, but he did make a slight little caveat that although the offense was accelerating and picking up the pace at the end of the last season, you also got to remember it was still running through Kyle Monunga as a workhorse running back that opened up the passing game. I think there's still a decent amount of uncertainty around the running game being the focal point of this offense. And like the Rutgers we saw last year, I don't know that exists if you can't establish the run. So I think there's uncertainty across the board. Obviously the most important position is quarterback, and you feel really good about that. So that's great. But I have some serious skepticism to start this season.
It's interesting because I feel like they're pretty confident that they're going to be good offensively. At least that's kind of the vibe I get. And they should be good offensively, right? I mean, and I go back to this. I haven't Ethan Kellyman is back in a year under his belt, but not just that, but the weapons he has around him, like they have not felt this good about a collection of receivers since they've been here. Another year with the same offensive coordinator. Like, this should be a team that scores points. And I get it. Like, when you see all these upsets across the country every week, what's a common denominator there? It's a team that can, surprise a team, make some explosive plays, get a big lead on someone. Not just, you very rarely win these. You beat an Oregon 13-10, right? Like, I think there's something about, if I were thinking of one thing that makes me optimistic about this season, is the fact that I am, for the first time since Kenny Britt, I don't know, since the Leonte Carew, since that offense, the first time I am confident that a Rutgers team is going to score points like that. That's the first time I can say this. So to me, that's what raises the ceiling here, right? Like, who the hell knows? Like, I get it, the schedule's hard, but if you look at the other side of it, all right, if you have one of these special offensive days, you catch a team coming in to Piscataway, overlooking them. I think that's a recipe for how they finally break that streak and beat a ranked team.
I think this uncertainty on both sides, Rutgers fans are finally going to have the answer to the question. Like a lot of people say, I would rather lose a game 41-38 than 13-10. I think they got a little taste of that in the Ray Bowl last year with Kansas State. I think this year certainly is a team that, yes, they could have an upset where they beat a team, 44-41 in a thriller. They could also lose a game by that same score. The offense, to me, the major question here is at the tackle spots, right? Greg Schiano said they feel good about the depth. They might play more than two guys, which they did for the most part last year when everyone was healthy. I'm not sure that's a good thing, because last year you played one guy in Holland Pierce who was exceptional, right? The best tackle they've had in a long time. Maybe they have more depth, but do they have the one guy? That's kind of what Greg Schiano was alluding to. They're going to figure that out through the first three games. Do they have the one guy that can protect Ethan Kaliakmanis? Because I think that was an underrated aspect of, yes, Kyle Monunga played a huge part in that. The wide receivers got better by the season went on, and that played a huge part in that. Ethan's not going to be able to throw the ball to DT Sheffield and Ian Strong if he's not protected on the blind side and at right tackle. So I think that is really the position that will determine the floor of the offense. I think Ian Strong could be special. I really do. We've heard a lot of good things about DT Sheffield. I think he could even be an upgrade to what Dymere Miller was last year, and Dymere Miller was a really good player. But all of that is moot if they don't have a guy who can protect the quarterback.
Right. All right, let's dive into some rapid fire things here, which I think are interesting and trying to set. And I always do this, man. Like you would think after 25 years of dealing with Greg Schiano, I would know what a question is that he's not going to answer. And I stood there today. I'm like, is he going to answer this question? I thought, and I'm like, no, Steve, like he's not going to answer the question. And then I asked the question, which of course is like, what are the, what are the expectations here? What would make a successful season? And he looked at me and said, well, Steve, you've been around a long time to know I'm not going to answer that question. And I was like, but now I'm talking, my inner monologue is playing out. Like Greg Schiano is the other side of my inner monologue here. Of course, you're not going to answer this question. But we can answer the question about the expectations. And I wonder, are we at the point now where a bowl game is no longer the goal? The bowl game is the minimum expectation for this program. And it's funny because it ain't. If you look at the people in the world, national publications don't think they're going to make a bowl game. But here, it seems like, to me at least, it is the floor. Do you agree with that?
I do. I think this program is at the point where making a bowl game should be the bare minimum, where you feel like it's not a bad season, and then whatever you do above that is what marks the success of the season, so to speak. Right. So I think that's the case this year, especially because you only have 3 games where you feel pretty confident they're not going to win, right? Like if you win those games, great. That's an all-time moment. You're probably not going to beat any of those 3. So can you win half of your toss-up swing games, whatever you guys want to call them? If that's the situation, you have to. At least half of it, you have to.
Right. Yeah.
The way Schiano spoke about Ohio University is what Rutgers fans should want to hear about Rutgers, like winning consistently, winning the division once, right? Like winning 10 games, 3 seasons in a row. They haven't had a losing season, I think he said, in 14 years. That's the level of success that like Rutgers fans would be dying for, and the level of success that you hope is now established, right? If Rutgers doesn't have a losing season in a decade, that would be a tremendous success in my mind.
Right. All right. So we all agree that it is the minimum expectation at this point. And I say that with like a tremendous amount of understanding. I was there for 2-10. I get it. It took a long time to get here, but when they hired Greg Schiano, one thing I was completely certain of, that it would get back to this level, and it's gotten to that level. Now, the next 2 questions here that are coming up. Will this be the year that Rutgers upsets one of the blue bloods? And by that, I mean, like, gives you a moment when you're on when you're seeing this, when it's unfolding, that you remember that everything else that happens in a year, it makes it all worth it. It makes sitting in the rain worth it. It makes 10 bad years worth it. It makes Chris Ash worth it. It makes all of the nonsense worth it. Is that game going to happen this year? What do you guys think?
You're saying, are they going to beat Oregon, Ohio State, Penn State?
Upset one of the blue bloods. Yes. You're going to count. You're not going to count Illinois. They're like 13th in the nation. No. I get it.
Yeah, but it's okay. Rutgers was a bad time out away from beating Illinois last year, and it's not like they added Lawrence Taylor and Peyton Manning to their roster.
True.
So no, I think there's a huge gap between 12 and 5 even. So are they going to beat one of those 3 teams? I think they're going to put a scare. I don't think they're going to win.
Okay.
I think it's within a realm of a possibility, but not going to happen.
Right. Yeah, and it's a shame because it's just the wrong 3 teams again. That's the problem I have. Like, I think it is within the realm of possibility too, but every time I look, like Ohio State is just, I until I see a close game in there, I can't say yes. Penn State, this is their year. I mean, maybe you catch them in the last week of the season. Maybe they're in the playoff already. I don't know. That stuff happens, but at the same token, that is, I mean, everyone's picking them to possibly win it all. And then Oregon, speed. Like, I still don't think this program is where it needs to be speed-wise to beat a team like that. And that would be the best shot you'd have to win one of these games. So yeah, I got to agree with you. It is hard. It is hard to see. So the next question on that level is, will Rutgers be ranked at any point? If you can't win one of those games, is this the year that Rutgers ends that streak, which is almost as long, Brian? What is it, 10 years? since they've been ranked?
The last time they were ranked was the final week of the 2012 season where they share the Big East title. That was 2 years before my freshman year of college. So I've gone to college. I've graduated from college. I've covered this team. I'm about to have my 10-year college reunion in about 3 years, and Rutgers has still not been ranked.
Yeah.
Now, will it happen? Our game-by-game predictions will be out Tuesday morning, probably around the time when this gets published. I have Rutgers starting the season 7-2. Do you think 7-2 is enough to get ranked? I think it might. And the 7-2 is after defeating Illinois. So they'll have beaten Illinois.
Right.
And be 7-2. Okay. Illinois, I'm assuming, will be a top 25 team.
Right.
I think that'd be enough to get ranked.
Yeah. I do too.
Yeah. If that's the case. Yeah. I mean, absolutely. Yeah. It's a good, I guess it does work out that. And is it enough? Let me ask you this. Would it be enough to get ranked if, and it wasn't the last time around, if they beat Iowa, if they're 3-0 and they beat Iowa, is that enough to get ranked?
Yeah. I do too. Iowa ranked? I think Iowa's going to be in the back half of 15 to 25.
Yeah.
4-0 Rutgers. It's the same. Remember when Rutgers beat Washington last year and Kyle Monunga came out and said, rank us.
Yeah.
It's like, well, maybe not quite. Maybe not quite just yet. But I think beating a ranked team in Iowa, as consistent as a program as there is, a huge home win like that, a 4-0 Rutgers at that point, I think that's a great idea. I think that's possible.
For what it's worth, Iowa will play Iowa State before Rutgers, I'm fairly certain. Iowa State just won their first game. They're ranked. They're probably going to be ranked in that game. If Iowa wins that game, they'll probably get ranked. So they'll probably be ranked for Rutgers. I guess then the question is, not to steal your thunder here, Felipe, but the next question is Rutgers going to beat a ranked team for the first time since 2009, which is going to be a 16th anniversary this year, which is crazy.
That is crazy. Yes. Even I was young the last time Rutgers beat a ranked team.
Cristiano was the head coach of Rutgers the last time Rutgers beat he left and came back.
Yeah, and it's funny. And they've played so many ranked teams, and it's a little unfair because back, they're not playing like number 24 very often. They're usually playing number 2. I get it, but you would think they would have sneaked. Yeah, that to me, that's a streak. They've got to get that. They have got to get that monkey off.
Was Illinois ranked last year? It was, right? Yes,
absolutely.
Yes,
that's where that was the opportunity. Not that we have to relive that, again. But I think there's a good chance they do break that streak this year. And they'll have 6 opportunities, maybe at least. Will Washington be ranked?
Probably not. Iowa, Illinois, the three blue bloods.
That's it.
Maybe, maybe Minnesota, maybe Washington, maybe one of these. Look, I don't think it's likely. I don't think it's impossible.
Right. Yeah. So that's the problem. The lack of opportunities and realistic opportunities. So, all right. Fascinating stuff. We'll come back to lots of football talking, your questions, and in our predictions, which we'll save for the end of the show, which we're going to rename it. It's going to be called the Heldrich Picks of the Weeks. That's what we call it. That's a special bonus we're giving to our sponsor. Let's go. Right. We could have done. It's like literally the least we could do. Thank you for sponsoring us. We're going to name our picks after you. Okay.
This guy.
It's good.
Comes on the podcast saying, "How can we not embarrass the Heldrichs?" and then botches the name, and then I do it just the same.
Did I say that? I said it wrong.
Heldrich Hotel,
this
the best hotel in New Brunswick.
This might be why.
Red Roof Inn.
This might be why they didn't want me to record a new ad. Like we asked, they're like, no, let's just keep the ad you have. Let's not go through that again. It's like, I go back to the studio. I'll record a new ad. No, it's okay. No, really, it's not. Yeah, they don't need you. We don't need you with a microphone. You do bad enough. Gonna murder the quarterback's name for the 800th time. I'm not even going to say it here because I didn't want to murder it as I was saying I was going to murder it. Ethan. See, I got it right. There you go.
Kaliakmanis.
Okay.
Anything
all right. A name I can pronounce, Kelly Zinn. We had our first extended interview with her today. Brian and I were there early morning. You should read his takeaways from it. What I will say, the 2 words that spring to mind, Brian, are competent and confident. Like those 2 things. And this is the big takeaway I had. And I understand all of the reasons why Rutgers went through the crazy process to try to hire someone from the outside. I get the theory of it. I get the whole thing. When you had Kelly Zinn sitting in front of us today, and she is talking with authority about what is going on in the world of college sports only in a way who someone who has been in that seat and doing it for the past 4 years can do. That was my takeaway today. It wasn't like this nebulous, oh, we gotta get sponsors and we gotta, greatest chapter. And it wasn't all this nonsense and cliches. It was someone who's like, here's what we have to do. Right? That was my takeaway. Like, we need to set priorities. We need to spend up to the revenue share, but we need NIL on top of that. We need to select the teams that we think we have the best chance of winning, to invest the resources in it. Here's how we're going to do that. That process is underway. There's all of this stuff. It's been 2 weeks. Like, all of that stuff today. I was very impressed with her. More impressed after this meeting than I was when she was introduced. I thought she did a great job there. Do you agree?
Yeah, I've been more and more impressed with her every time I've heard her speak, every time I've sat in a room with her. It's clear that she has an idea that she wants to go to. She has priorities set out. She knows what she wants and needs. She has an idea for a staff and the alignment and the structure, and she has all that planned out. She is showing an ability to pivot. Even now, she mentioned talking to us today, she came in wide-eyed with the idea of the New York market, as everyone does when they first hear of Rutgers, and she is already starting to pivot to the idea of New Jersey businesses, which if you ask me from where I'm sitting, there you go, Pat.
Right.
That is more of the way to start with Rutgers. I understand wanting to start grand with New York, build a brand in New Jersey, and go out from there. I think but my point there is that she's shown an ability to pivot, because things are never at Rutgers going to work out the way you initially think they will. That is a key skill. And to me, what really struck out was her it's hard for me to word this because I haven't really heard this from someone at Rutgers in a long time, but creating a high standard, having this idea that you have to meet standards, that you have to win, that you have to show progress, that you have to essentially prove your worth as a head coach and a leader in the school for each program. Mm-hmm. Before, it felt like if you have 1 or 2 good seasons, you show some progress, you get almost a contract for life, right? Like, there are multiple examples of strong extensions given. Right. Whereas now it seems like this is this is a rolling process where you have to continuously prove yourself. I was very impressed with that. Yeah. And sorry to keep going here, but the other thing is also she has a clear plan for the RAC. She did not rule out the possibility of a new arena, which is something Pat Hobbs did, but it seemed very clear that her preference would be to renovate the RAC, to renovate SHI Stadium and build upon what they have.
Right. And she spoke of it like she already, like, I could tell she walked through it and looked at it and already has an idea of what that would be. Like, she was aware of the space around it. The fact that a great comment about, like, one of the reasons why these old buildings get torn down is because there's no place to build it, and the RAC's not like that. Like, she's already kind of visualizing this. Like, she's been here 2 weeks. I was impressed by that point of it. The way she talked about the football program to me. If you're Greg Shannon, you got to be just thrilled. The relationship there. She praised him for. She said he overachieved based on his resources, which I'm sure they're happy to hear, because I think they believe, and rightfully so, that they don't get a lot of credit for how they've managed what has been a difficult situation NIL wise, that it's her job to clean up. Pat, the other thing, this is great, like at the end of it, she was telling a story about, like, one of the coaches came into her with a recruit and, wasn't sure about how you're going to get the money for this recruit. And, like, it was just this great line, like, like, how much did she ask? Well, if I can't get that, President Tate just send me back to the bayou. Is the way she said it. So here's there's real stuff that's happening in real time. Like, coaches are coming to her with needs, and I'm sure over certainly the past year, where there's no one in charge, and then the past 3 years before that, where there's someone who is actively working against NIL. The best way you could describe Pat Hobbs was, he wasn't just bad at his job; he was willfully. We're almost a net negative on it. Now you have someone in this job who's like, yeah, all right, what do you need next?
Yeah, it's really eventful, and I just think about the timing of this press conference too. There's all these reporters on campus to come see the football team, and she comes and meets with everyone. I think that openness and willingness to lay out her plan is first and foremost a great move in itself. So. She seems mindful of everything that's going on, and that's probably the most important thing.
And I hope, and I think she will be, and I hope that she continues to be out there talking to people, because she's good at it.
Yeah.
She's really good at it. And that's like, like Rutgers hasn't always had that, and not just that, someone who's already got the work ethic. Like you can tell, that you're hearing anecdotal stories about people driving past the building and the office, their lights on at like, at 11 p.m. stuff, like working 80-hour weeks. That's something that's, I gotta tell you, Pat Hobbs was playing a lot of freaking golf the last couple of years. Like that's something that you haven't seen. Like forget everything else that happened with Pat Hobbs at the end. He wasn't showing up to work. I mean, that's like, all right. So set the culture, this is it. This is the new thing here. This is, we gotta row as hard. Like when the boss is doing it, it's easier for everyone else underneath her to do it. So lots to like from the initial conversation. And again, you're 2 weeks into it. Yeah. All right.
We'll see what happens when the rubber meets the road, but I'm very impressed. There's an element of like, I mean, speaking personally, right? Sometimes when we sat down and had Shiano like in this kind of setting, no cameras, we're all just talking, you leave the room feeling more confident about where things are headed, or at the very least that there's someone in charge who has a clear vision. And if it doesn't work out, at least they did it knowing what they were trying to do. I get that sense from Kelly. I get the sense that she knows what she wants to do. She's a professional person. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, but it's not for a lack of trying. And it's not for a lack of vision, for lack of a better word.
Right. Yeah. And another thing, we're gonna hire a chief revenue officer. Okay. Well, like we haven't had that. Of course. Right. It's just things like that, like, or just very simple things. You're like, oh, okay. Again, but it was certainly a good half an hour. And I think from a media standpoint, looking forward to dealing with her more as the year goes on. Questions? Should we do some questions? We put it out on Twitter, and you can tell there's interest in the season. Usually I get like 3 or 4. We got like dozens of questions on Twitter today alone. So that's a good sign that people are engaged. We'll try to get as many of them as we can and try to save some for later too. So let's dive right in. And this is a good one. I want to start here because it's something we really haven't talked about. When Greg Schiano first announced that Mo Toure was out for the season last summer, he says something like, we not only lost our best defensive player, but we lost our alpha male, our leader. Who is that guy now? It's a good question. I don't know that you guys have been around the team more than me. I don't know. I have an answer. What's your thought?
I got one.
You good?
Good.
Who is it?
Ethan Kaliakmanis.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I think he really grabbed this thing, gone in head on, and was a captain last year. Obviously, he's the focal point of this team, and I think he has the guys behind him. He might not be as rah-rah as Mo Toure, but I think he has that leadership characteristics in him, and I think he's no doubt the guy.
I think he's more of a lead by example kind of guy, but certainly, and I think that's what you want for a team. In an ideal world, your quarterback is the leader of the program, and I think, to Pat's point, there's little doubt that he's the leader of this program. And Shiano said as much a couple times publicly. Is
there someone on defense who you put in there?
There's so many new guys. It's hard to, Jordan Walker was named a captain, and I think he's very impressive in the sense that he's a walk-on wide receiver coming from a prep school, and now he's a starting defensive end. Led the team in sacks last year, and has a chance of being a big part of the pass rush this year too. So I think he has an inspirational story, and he's another one of these lead by example guys. But I think people follow him as well.
Right. All right, next question, running backs. We have a lot of questions about how do you see the RBs being deployed this year? Committee, feature back with maybe a third down receiving specialist. Along those lines, will Sam Brown get to run the ball? Obviously, Pat, you mentioned earlier, going from where we were last year with 0 questions about the running back, it's at least interesting that we don't have an answer to that question, or do we?
No, Greg Schiano said today that that's one of those positions that's coming to a head here in the final days, and obviously it all points to a committee in my mind. And I'm not sure about Sam Brown. Maybe Brian has a little bit clearer vision on that, but what I will say is like the offense is just not going to be what it was last year. Run the ball 40 times against Michigan State in the snow, pound it down your throat. I really think it's a big change, and philosophically, we'll see something a little different. Like I remember right when Kirk Ciarrocca was hired, and there was, what is the offense going to look like? He always said, I'm going to make it look like whatever our strength is, and the strength of this team is not going to be the Kyle Monangai led workhorse running back. It's going to be versatile offense and behind the play of a quarterback who can spread the ball around, because that's one of Ethan's best characteristics.
So this is a good plays off this pretty well. Someone else asked, what do you think the average split will be between run pass this season? And I was wondering, has it ever been under Kirk Shiraka and his Minnesota offenses? Has it ever been a pass happy offense? Again, I don't think it's ever been under Greg Schiano, at least not, and certainly not this time around. Like, is there a chance it'll be a heavier pass than run?
So I haven't been able to get all the numbers on this, but I actually was just looking this up. Last year, they ran the ball 54.7% of the time, so just a little bit over than half. And I think Kyle, I had this stat before, I can't find it. It was something like 60% of the carries were from Kyle. Right. So to answer the question, I could see the rush total getting lower. I don't know if it'll get lower than 50%. I guess it depends on whether they're going to be losing in a lot of games, if they're going to be coming from behind for the lead. But in theory, I don't see it being lower than 50%, though I could see the split being less than, I don't think either guy's going to get 60%. I think it'll be closer to, 45% maybe for Campbell, something like 40% for Antoine Raymond, and then 15% or 10% for Jashawn Benjamin, and a 5% for whoever else. On Sam Brown, I don't expect him to play much, at least not early on. I could see him, and I think the scenario that makes the most sense is he plays in 4 games at some point, preserves his red shirt, which he hasn't used somehow despite suffering 2 season-ending injuries, and saving his last year of eligibility for next year. I don't know if he'll play early on. I don't think it makes sense to play him early on, but I can certainly see at the back half of the schedule, you have a game where you want to throw out a little surprise, you throw in Sam Brown, and he adds a little different element. So that's kind of how I see things working out.
All right. You said the word surprise. This was a question from someone on Twitter. Who is the one player fans are unaware of, but after his play will begin, after the season begins, we'll begin to appreciate? Sorry, I murdered your question, but I think we get it. Who's the surprise player? For me, I don't know if it's a surprise, but just hearing people talk about DT Sheffield, I think that he is going to lead this team in receiving. I think it sounds crazy with given Ian Strong's expectations, but they talk about him like he is. I mean, just that's the strong vibe about him is he could be the true breakout. Home run hitter this program has not had. I'll steal the easy one. Do you guys have one?
Pat, you have one?
I got a cheat one, so I can throw that out here. A guy that was around today, that's why it's fresh in my mind, who was hurt last year, but so pivotal to the offensive line is Brian Felter, a veteran guy that missed basically the entire season last year, but he'll be back as one of the stalwart leaders. You want to talk about alpha dogs? Brian Felter has always been an alpha dog going back to his Bergen Catholic days. That's another good.
How old is he?
I'll give you 2.
He's married with a kid on the way. Greg Schiano revealed today. I was like, whoa, okay. I got more in common with Brian Felter than most college athletes. That's good for him, man. All right, got a lot on his mind, got a lot on his plate.
So yeah, maybe he's a little bit of a surprise to have him back.
I guess not a surprise in the sense that he comes from a big time school and he played a lot at Penn State, but Cam Miller, I don't know how much people are thinking about the cornerback position or the secondary, but I can see him making an impact there, playing a bigger role than he did at Penn State and kind of bringing that higher standard that they had at Penn State over to Rutgers. So I don't know if he'll be a big counting stats guy. I don't know if any of these, that's the big question with the secondary is, can they take the ball away? Can they get interceptions? Can they force fumbles? But I think he'll make his presence known and be kind of the best player in the secondary.
All right. We have just a ton, as you can imagine, a ton of questions about season expectations, most of them centering around 2 numbers, the same number, 6 and 6. If this team goes 6 and 6 and makes another bowl, would you consider that continued growth in the program? 3 consecutive bowl seasons, no matter the record, sounds like slow but steady progress upwards. That's tricky, right? I don't know. I mean, 6 and 6 is the definition of mediocrity on one hand. It's what you mean. The last couple of years, did you win the bowl? You go 7 and 6 again for the 3rd straight year. It's hard to say you're making progress upward. It seems like you have hit a plateau, fair or not. And I get the schedule. I get everything associated with that. I get last year's injuries. Progress, no. I mean, you've hit a level, which is good, but I don't think you can say it's going upwards at that point.
I agree. and it's better than going backwards. I think we could all agree there. I think there's still a buffer here where at least this season, maybe next season, you can maintain this 6-6, 7-5 level, and people will be satisfied with not going backwards. I do think at some point there will be, much like the first time around, the calls for more wins, better seasons, higher ceiling or higher floor, stuff like that. I think for now, there's still the sense of like, it's not Chris Ash, right? So people are happy about the program being at this level. Again, I think we're at a point where 6-6 is the bare minimum, where it's acceptable. I
think there's one stat that Greg Schiano wants from his program, and I just hear him say this over and over again, whether it's Iowa or Ohio, like today, that he wants to say that Rutgers hasn't had a losing season in 10 years. He loves that line.
He does love that line. You're right. He does.
So I think that 6-6 mark is so important from that aspect. And I think he's right, because at the end of the day, you want to just prove that you're a consistent program. Right. Maybe you have that breakthrough moment.
All right. On the other side of it, upset potential. Which of the big three teams is the most likely upset? Oregon, Penn State, or Ohio State? Also, is Schiano coaching for his job with a new regime in place? I feel like he could be, if it's a worse year than expected. No, he's not. No one could be safe. His seat is an igloo. It's so cold. So get that out of your head. Let's not go there again after they lose to Ohio. Okay. All right. Which of the big three do you think is most vulnerable?
I think we can agree the least likely is at Ohio State. Yes?
Yeah. Right.
I don't agree.
Wow.
Really? I don't agree. Because Ohio State throws up a clunker. I mean, they won the national championship, but people forget lost to Michigan as well. It was not a great team.
What's the record? What's like the all-time series record here in the 12 years in the Big Ten? Like 560 to 12? What's it going to be
if it plays Oregon every year? It's the same thing. Same thing with Penn State.
So you think Ohio State's the most likely to beat? The most likely?
It's a crazy scenario, but I actually do.
Wow. Okay.
I actually do.
I think it's the least likely too. I agree. Yeah. Just because I think they have better athletes than Penn State. I just think like the last game of the year, in New Jersey, Penn State's in the playoff. Let's just say they've already have a loss. They're coming in. I think that one is, to me, more possible than at Ohio State. I do think Oregon is the most likely of the three. Brian, do you agree with that?
Ohio State is like a professional team in the Big Ten. They're like the closest thing to an SEC team there is. Like they are, the recruiting they have, the money they have. If they lose to Rutgers, it would be a catastrophe. I just can't see it happening. Yeah. Especially Shen having coached there, Ryan Day, whatever. I just don't. So I think Penn State would be the most meaningful. I think there will be a lot of juice there if Rutgers is, say 7-4. If Penn State is undefeated, and Penn State, like sneaky, even in the Ash years, like never really blew Rutgers out. It was always kind of close. Like Rutgers never felt like they were close to upsetting them. Like, let's not get that mistaken here, but it's never like Penn State was up 42-0 in the third quarter. Like it never felt like that. So I can see that scenario playing out. I think Oregon is at a point in the season where Rutgers still has a positive record. There's good vibes. It's good weather. People are going to show up. It's homecoming. It's a night game. Oregon's flying across the country.
It's the safe pick.
It is the safe pick.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Fair enough. All right. So last question. Let me see if I got one more good one. Okay. This is one that's come up. Assess the quarterback room. I am very nervous if QB1 goes down. I'm not. I don't know. I get it. It's Ethan Kalimanis' team. I understand that, but are you worried if he goes down? Like what level of concern is there? Is the backup quarterback that much of a step down? They think he's the future of the program, AJ Cerise.
He's never played in a college game.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. He's eventually going to play in a. He played in a college game. You're wrong about that. I watched him play through some passes, didn't he, last year?
No. He was hurt.
He was hurt. That's right. All right. Sorry.
So here's what I would say.
You saw him play in the spring game very well.
That's where I saw him play. Thank you. I knew I saw him play. That's a game.
Here's what I would say. In years past, if Ethan Kalimanis got hurt, let's say last year, if Ethan Kalimanis got hurt last year, the season was over. Right. Like not even a question. if he gets hurt this year, I'd give it like a 15 to 20% chance that AJ Serace can salvage the year. But I think it's too much to ask for a kid who's never played in a college game, is a redshirt freshman, to replace a fifth-year senior against Big Ten competition and lead the way to a roughly the same level. I think it's – I don't know. I don't think the season is doomed if Athan gets out for the year. I think that to expect them to be anywhere near as good as they would be with Athan is a bit unfair to Serace.
Right, of course.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And Serace is very much the future of the program. They believe that. He's looked at in the spring game that we saw. Take what you want out of it. But at the end of the day, everything Brian said is absolutely right. He still hasn't played in the game. But I think there has to be a plan in place to get him some snaps. But
you're absolutely right.
Right?
Yes.
So you may want to see AJ Serace against Norfolk State or in any of these non-conference games to get him some snaps.
Absolutely. There's no question about that. You need to get him experience.
Well, that's the issue with playing two really good MAC teams in the beginning of the year is, are you going to be able to build a big enough lead so that in the fourth quarter, AJ Serace and other younger guys can play and get some experience? I don't think so, especially not against Ohio. Maybe Miami, but might be tough against Ohio.
MAC action. All right. Let's do some predictions. Let's pick some stuff. I wish we had a little jingle so we could say the Heldridge Picks of the Week. Brought to you Coming soon. Yeah, it could be great. Can we do that for them? They're our sponsor. Let's give them something for sticking with us, despite every opportunity not to. New Brunswick's #1 hotel sponsoring. Who won last year, by the way? We're going to do Ohio picks first, then we're doing season picks. And just to be a programming note, we will go back to the format last year where we had a separate late in the week pod where we had some fun and we did some picks. That worked last year. We did 2 early, one capping the game, the one pick in the next game. It's just Thursday night game. We didn't have an opportunity to do that this week. So there you go. Who won last year?
I don't know if you're asking this because you know who won last year.
No, I honestly don't.
So I have the numbers from the Michigan State game. I know there's 2 games missing from there, but you resoundingly won 9-2 straight up, and you were 8-3 against the spread. Pat was 4 games behind you entering that, and I was 3 games behind you. So there was no shot we'd catch up. So you won, Billy.
I won. How about that?
Pat yourself on the back.
How about that?
A little experience. Go with the experienced guy here sometimes. Know what I'm talking about. I won last year. That's odd, too. Have I won often? I don't know. All right. So Ohio is a 14.5-point underdog. Greg Schiano talked to them like they were like, the way he was praising them today. Pat, like 5 minutes of solid Ohio talk, and then Pat came back in with another question and gave him another opportunity to talk about Ohio for 3 more minutes. It was great. So he talked them up pretty good. All right, can someone tell me a little bit about it? What do we got here? Preview Ohio for me for fans who are going to the game. Go.
Ohio's bringing back their starting quarterback. Their OC is now their head coach. Their DC is coming back. They've been a defensive-minded team with a solid offense. They've won double-digit games, I think, the last 3 years. That's that. They haven't had a losing season in quite some time. So they're about as good of a mid-major Group of 5 team you could face. They're the second favorite to win the MAC behind Toledo. So it's hard to find a tougher G5 opponent.
Right. How the hell did this get? Who scheduled this? How did this
for the opener? Sure? For the opener,
Chris Ash responsible? Can we blame this on Pat Hobbs? What happened?
Greg Schiano picked this, scheduled this game. Every game from here on out, aside from BC next year, was scheduled by Greg Schiano.
Oh my God, where's?
Or I should say, in the Greg Schiano era. I don't know if it was him. I can't imagine anyone else was scheduling games for Greg Schiano. That sounds like impossible.
Man, was Howard not available? What happened? What happened here? All right. Who wants to go first with picks? I won, so I'll go first. That's fair, right? I guess.
Yeah.
14.5, man. That's just too much for me. That's a lot of points with the uncertainty Rutgers has on defense. I just think that this is going to be one of these games. I just got this feeling it's going to be one of these games that you're going to be sitting there in the third quarter going, oh no, if you're a fan. I think the good news is I do think Rutgers is going to win the game, and then they will have beaten a good opponent, and then they will have that confidence that comes with it. But 14.5, there's no way I'm picking that. I think it's going to be a touchdown game in the fourth quarter. I think Rutgers eventually will have the ball late. We'll run out the clock. We'll keep it from being the real nail biter that would make people, afraid of what happens. But I think it's going to be a 31-24 Rutgers victory.
The over-under is 46.5 last I checked. Rutgers is going
31-24. Okay, so that's what I got to take the over. Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Rutgers will almost single-handedly get the over.
Really?
And they will cover. The Rutgers offense will be out in full blaze, and they will live up to every expectation we have. The defense will struggle a little bit. Rutgers will win and cover 38-21.
Wow. Okay. Easy win for the Scarlet Knights. Pat?
All right. Open up those ear canals. Open them up, because you guys are not listening to Greg Schiano when he warned everyone in that press conference for 5 minutes, as you alluded to how good Ohio is. Brian laid out the stats. This is a team that hasn't had a losing season in 13 years. They're coming off 3 straight 10-win seasons. There's not a lot of things that have changed from this team from last year. Quarterback Parker Navarro is very good. He's run for over 1,000 yards. I can see him just lighting up Rutgers as it's trying to figure this thing out defensively. I really see this being a high-scoring game and one that Rutgers is going to be going up and down the field, back and forth, both teams. I think this is going to be a track meet game. I think the over is a great play if you're a gambling person. But I'm worried. And 14.5, I think that's crazy. I'm going to be crazy enough to actually pick Ohio to win this game outright and spoil things for Rutgers here.
Holy cow.
I just think Rutgers has a lot to figure out defensively. There's a lot of consistency with the Ohio offense, and I'm just worried. I'm worried after listening to Schiano, and I listened to what he said about Virginia Tech last year, how many pros are on that team. I know this is his shtick, but I think this Ohio team is very much, people are going to be looking past this team and how good of a program this has been the last decade. I think it's a very consistent program and has that championship expectation that they're coming into Piscataway treating this as their biggest game of the year, right? Like, this is their opportunity to say, we're not just this group of 5 team that's going to get our players poached. We're here to win and compete and knock off one of these Big Ten teams. I'm worried if I'm a Rutgers fan.
Wow. There you go. Pat is picking the Bobcats. Peter King's alma mater. Going all in. Wow. Okay. All right. Maction. Man, that would, I tell you, if that happens, it's going to be dark in Piscataway. And I don't, people overreact to any one result in college football, but yeah, people are going to lose their, if that happens. But I like the fact that we're divided. We're completely three different picks to start this off. Someone will be in the lead in a unique way. Brian's bullish, Pat, not so much. Man. All right. So some drama there on the game picks. So Pat, if they lose to Ohio, the next question is, we do our entire season picks. Are you going to go full doomsday here? Are you going to be like the Grim Reaper for this? Or do you think that they could lose to Ohio, looking at the rest of their schedule, and bounce back and have a good season?
Yeah, I really do think that this Rutgers team, it's a bad matchup to start the season. I think that's where my pick is coming from. I see Ohio as a really good team, and Rutgers as a team that's going to figure it out and get better as the season progresses, especially defensively. So I'm not going full Grim Reaper. I'll say that. And if you want me to give my full season pick right now, I can do that.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Please.
All right. So I have Rutgers getting back to 6-6 and punching that card to a bowl game. That, even with the Ohio loss, I can still see Rutgers going to Washington and stealing a win. 2 wins against Purdue, Maryland, Norfolk, Miami, and Washington. So that's my 6.
Okay.
Unless I said Washington twice.
You might have said Washington twice. I don't know. Well, beat him twice. Yeah, I hate to be boring, but I'm right there with you at 6-6. I don't know. It's partly the schedule, and I'm going to write a column that says this is a year where we should start seeing Rutgers not just competing with these teams, but beating these teams. I understand that. That's what the fan wants. That's an opportunity that's right in front of you. When you play all these teams every year, they haven't done it yet. That's like, that to me is the next step. That to me is more important in a lot of ways than getting back to the Rate Bowl, right? I get it. I'm just not seeing it yet. I've tried to talk myself into Oregon. I've tried to talk myself into Penn State. I can't. I'm not even trying with Ohio State. I think Illinois is better than they thought. It's in a good position this year. It's a winnable game. And then you look, are you really going to go across the country and win at Washington? I understand that that's a team you beat last year, but I mean, we all watched that game. We all know Washington was, giving that one away. They're going to be talented. For me, it comes down, you got to win the 3 non-conference. Obviously, I think beating Purdue and Maryland is just as, those to me are must wins as well. So you got 5. I think they're going to beat Minnesota on the road. That's one. I think that's the 6th one. And then to see if you can steal one late in November. Right now, I don't see it, but I think that's going to be the opportunity. That's going to be the narrative. Will they be able to find that 7th win that will turn it from an acceptable season to a good season? But right now, I'm going with 6.
So my path to 7-5, which is my final record, is so convoluted that I am trying to backtrack and figure out how I got there. But okay, so I'm going to read it out loud live so I get it right.
Yep.
I have them starting 3-0.
Okay.
I have them losing to Iowa.
Okay.
I then have them beating Minnesota and Washington before losing to Oregon, beating Purdue and Illinois. So they're 7-2.
Okay.
7-2. Their only losses are to Iowa and Oregon.
Okay.
And then in the most Rutgers moment of all time, or certainly up there, 7-2 Rutgers loses at home to Maryland.
The bad Maryland
falls to
team.
7-3.
Man.
Saves Mike Loxley's job, which I guess in the long term might be the best play, but in the short term is a devastating loss. And then loses the last 2 games to Ohio State and Penn State and finishes 7-5.
I mean, in some ways that would be, people, that would be a successful season. What does that get? Is that get you out of the Pinstripe Bowl or you're back in the Bronx?
I put them in the Pinstripe Bowl because I think 7 wins is not enough to justify leaving that tier. And I think the Pinstripe Bowl will do everything in its power possible to bring Rutgers back to Yankee Stadium, which I write about in the story. They should just open up the Scarlet Knights suite and only open it up during the Pinstripe Bowl.
Okay. All right. So we're all about the same. We're all in the same area, 7-5, 6-6. It's just, it's kind of where the program is right now. We'll see if they can break that ceiling. A lot of people don't think they're going to reach that level. So it's not entirely a negative take to think they're going to only get 6. Hey, that's why they play the game, fellas. We'll find out who's right and who's wrong. All right. What else? We got some things on the what else. I love the fact that you're pointing out that the Kelly Zinn era is 3-0-3. That makes me tee-hee-hee a little bit. Soccer has not lost yet, I guess. Is that still true since yesterday? I guess not. No one's playing on Monday morning.
Yes, believe it or not, I was watching Rutgers Seton Hall last night. It's 10 o'clock on a Sunday, and I'm on ESPN Plus watching men's soccer.
I believe
They're losing twice. They're losing twice, and they come back in the 82nd minute to tie it 2-2 and keep the Kelly Zinn era undefeated. They started off 3-0, and they have since tied 3 straight games between the women and the men. But 3 ties is not 3 losses. So they're 3-0-3.
Right. There you go. She's making stuff happen already. All right. We've got Hoops Edition. I think that was a little bit of surprise. Dorian Jones, kid who committed to Rutgers originally. Is that right? Went to Ohio State. Committed to Ohio State, considered Rutgers. Academic issues maybe backed out of Ohio State. Did they want him on the roster? It seemed like Ohio State. When are they concerned? Are they concerned about academics at Ohio State now? What happened? I missed that memo. Tell me the story here, because obviously I don't know the answer to the question. Why don't you tell me, Brian?
Quick notes, essentially. He was a 4-star recruit. Rutgers seemed to have the inside track for him. And then in the 11th hour, when he was going to commit, Ohio State, his home state school, swoops in, gets his commitment. He signed his national letter of intent in November. Seems like he's going to the Buckeyes. This offseason, he announces that he is getting out of his letter of intent. He's going to go to prep school or something. Turns out it's because of academic issues. To your point, I cannot remember the last time a player was didn't go to a school because of academics. Certainly not to this level, right? If he's as good as the 4-star ranking is, and then he reverts, instead of going to a prep school, to Rutgers. He goes to summer school. From it sounds like Rutgers believes he's at a point where they can take him into the roster. He'll join the roster, join the school, enroll in the school. They have to figure out with the NCAA if he's going to become eligible academically. So we'll see. He would contribute, right? Again, he's a 4-star kid. He's wiry. He can probably be a decent defender. I don't think this is a game changer, but this is their 7th freshman, and it seems like they're kind of throwing stuff at the wall and hoping one of them sticks, right? It's more of a substitute these 2 guys by committee. We'll see. But I just don't think it's an interesting addition. I don't think it moves the needle much, to be honest with you.
Hey, Pat, two great freshmen didn't work. Maybe 7 good ones will work. Is that the formula? Let's go with quantity over quality now. We tried quality. That didn't work.
You said it best, Validity. You said it best.
I can't. I have to, and I have to see it. At this point, I have to see it. Like I can't. I'm trying to wrap my brain around what it's going to look like. I need to see a practice or a scrimmage or something to have an informed opinion on it. At this point, I honestly I think they're going to be. I don't think they're going to be good. But I'm prepared to be surprised. I just have to eyeball it at this point, and we won't. I guess at least I won't until 3 weeks from now is going to be a little media soiree. I'll be there, and see if they pass the eye test. That's all I can say about basketball at this point.
In the meantime, there's a 5-minute video that they posted from their summer session, and they did not miss a single shot in that video.
Wow.
So maybe the offense is improved. But on the other side, the defense didn't stop anything. So I don't know. It's hard to really gauge. So I guess we'll see.
All right. Other things on the list: the Hall of Fame, Rutgers Hall of Fame is out. Anthony Ashnold in, Ray Rice not in. I don't get it. Like I just don't understand what we're waiting for at this point, unless Ray Rice, for some reason, had a conflict, couldn't come. I just don't understand it. Again, I guess I get it. I know what happened. I know there's going to be someone's going to write a nasty thing about it if he gets into. I understand that. I think you need to prepare for that and put Ray Rice into the Rutgers Hall of Fame. He's atoned for his mistake, a bad moment in the elevator. He's been a good human being since then. He's in the Ring of Honor in Baltimore. He's been honored down there. The NFL, which suspended him initially, ended his career, has welcomed him back. I'm waiting for the next time Rutgers has a Hall of Fame announcement. He should be part of it, Pat. That was my takeaway from this one. I don't know if you felt the same way.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything you said about the NFL welcoming Ray Rice back, it's crazy that he's still not at the school that he helped put on the map from a football perspective. Obviously, when you're always talking about Hall of Fames, the cliche always comes up, but you can't write the Rutgers history without this player.
Right.
That's how it is.
Although, and I don't want to diminish the players who got in. And obviously, Anthony Ashnold, there are very few athletes in Rutgers history who are more deserving. Take me through the rest of the list. Was there any surprises on there for you guys? I mean, obviously they went back in time a little bit to 1950. Little baseball honorees. Seemed like a solid class.
The World Series team felt a bit overdue, right? It's been 75 years.
What are you waiting for?
I mean, it's the greatest team in program history, probably. The Ashnold thing is interesting. I think it's a good thing that they fast forwarded it, right? He graduated 5 years ago, and now he's in the Hall of Fame. He's a national champion, for Christ's sake. I think once you win that, you should almost, when you walk off the stage with your championship, you should be handed a Hall of Fame token, right? Like that's automatic. It is curious that Anthony went in and Nick Sirianni, who won the title at the same time as him, didn't. I think it's right to give Anthony his own, night, because he is. I can't remember who tweeted this or something, but it was perfectly put. Like, he is the guy, the greatest wrestler at that point in the history of New Jersey wrestling. You correct me if I'm wrong, Pat, but certainly, if not the best, one of the best. He picked Rutgers when he could have gone anywhere, and he stuck it there for 4 years, and he finishes his career undefeated, Big Ten and national champion, and does exactly what he came to Rutgers to do. Like, that is as perfect a career you could hope for from a Rutgers athlete. So I think Nick Sirianni will get in eventually. I understand the thought, right? Like, he was here for a couple of years, and he's a mercenary. I don't like that term at all, but people would like to use that. He still won a national championship in a Rutgers singlet. That's a big, big deal. Not many people could say they've done that. I think he deserves a spot in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Pat, when they put Sirianni in, they got to call you and said, we can't find Nick Sirianni. The last known address, he was on a beach, and you were talking to him in Los Angeles. Could you? That's how it's gonna.
I would happily negotiate that conversation. Anyone can give me a call and set that up. That's good. Yeah.
All right. Anything else we haven't talked about?
If there's anyone on earth who would reject a Hall of Fame induction, it'd be Nick Sirianni. So it is very possible.
It's exactly
possible.
Right.
Yes,
exactly right.
Yeah, that'd be funny. Yes, it took Carly Lloyd like several tries to get in. That'd be the next one. That'd be great. Yeah. Who knows? All right, I think we can wrap up there unless you guys have something else we forgot to talk about. No. Listen, I am excited. I'm looking forward to having some football. It's been a long time since we've been able to watch the team. Interested to see what the atmosphere is going to be like in the stadium. And, hey, you only get so many of these guys, right? You only get like the start of I think that's the one great thing about college football is like that moment, that start of the season, that first game you walk in. We'll see, right? It'll be fun.
They're 0-0. And one thing we didn't mention, season tickets are up 5.9% from last year, which is pretty decent, right? It's good that it's going up, right? Similar to, maybe it's not where you want it to be, the 30,000 that it was in the second year under Flood in 2015. I should say the second year in the Big Ten. It's not quite there yet, but it's moving in the right direction. And I think that if they have a breakout year, whenever they have that breakout year, then you'll really see a 10, 15% jump.
There you go. All right, let's sign off there. Thanks again for listening. We'll be back after the Ohio game to recap it.